miles below this formation of American flying fortresses, there lies Marienburg in East Prussia. Up to this moment, one of the most important cogs in Germany's war machine. The specific target on which this lead bombardier is lining up his bomb sight is the Focke-Wulf 190 plant. Up to this instant, this aircraft factory has been accounting for almost 50% of Germany's total FW-190 fighter assembly.
Bombs away.
Tons of bombs rain down in a tight pattern of destruction. This, remember, is no area attack. It is an assault on one single target, and any bomb that falls outside that target has failed to achieve its purpose. The assembly of fighters in this Focke-Wulf factory has come to a sudden and violent end. And what enormous effort is necessary for the 10 or 15 minutes that our air task forces will be over any given target. The daylight bombing offensive against Germany is the responsibility of the 8th Air Force. Weather is the greatest single enemy of the 8th Bomber Command, for here is to be found the most changeable, treacherous weather in the world. This is the weather section in the operations block at the Bomber Command. Here the information gleaned from the weather stations is put together and correlated into weather maps. Upon the findings made in this room will depend whether or not there will be an American bombing of a German target tomorrow. This is the operations room of the Bomber Command. Here is where the wheels are put in motion for any American bombing attack.
What's the weather prospects today, Major? How's the weather at Anklam? Give me the map of Anklam and the picture of the aircraft factory there.
Yes, sir.
We will attack Marienburg with 2 combat wings, Anklam with 2 combat wings, shipyards at Danzig with 2 combat wings, and the port facilities at Gdynia with 2 combat wings. That will require a maximum effort.
This is the operational intelligence section. Here are target files containing complete information as to the type, construction, and vulnerability of the targets. This data is gathered both from photo interpretation of aerial pictures and from confidential ground sources. On the basis of this information, the aiming point for the attack will be selected.
Anklam, 1 hour before we attack the other targets. That should draw most of the German fighters on the Anklam force. The Anklam force is big enough to take care of itself.
The field order now goes over the teletype to all interested units and command. Command has conceived the mission and laid out general plans and routes. Division now plans in detail what command has ordered. The division's operations officer bases his precise plans on aircraft and crews available at the various groups. Intelligence, operations, weather, signals, group navigators and bombardiers have the grave responsibility of passing on and making clear to the combat crews the vital target and route information furnished by Bomber Command and Bomb Division. In dispersal areas, ground crews are getting their planes in condition to fly the mission. The normal work of keeping an airplane fit for operation is enormous, even in peacetime. When you add to this already great job the element of battle damage, the problem becomes gigantic. Engines, wings, propellers, controls, wiring, fuel system, oxygen system, the 1,001 elements that go to make up the complex mechanics of a heavy bombardment plane all must be kept in perfect shape. The failure of any one of them on a mission can easily mean the loss of the plane and its personnel, or at best, such a failure will cause the plane to abort. That is, return to its base without having reached the target. Ordnance is already at work, getting the bombs in their racks and loading ammunition onto the plane. The bombs have to be placed in their racks very carefully. One bomb sticking in its rack through careless placement might make a whole mission useless so far as that individual plane goes. Three o'clock in the morning. All over England at this exact moment, American air crews are being roused from their sleep.
Okay, fellas, roll out. We have a mission this morning. Breaks in half an hour. Captain Kirk, Captain Thompson, Lieutenant Bushka, Ackerson, Holloway, and Hawker scheduled to fly. Let's snap it up.
3 o'clock. This is a hell of a time to get a man out of bed.
Come on, Swifty. Get it out. Let's go.
Go, you guys. Hit the deck. Breakfast at 4, briefing at 5. Let's go.
Through the cold of the English early morning, the combat crews go to their mess. They have no idea where they're going yet, but they know they'll be taking off in about 4 hours.
Well, boys, I wonder where we'll be today.
The 4,000 men who will go on this mission all know it will be a rugged deal. For some of them, it's their first mission. Others are veterans of many. Now, at all the groups in the Bomber Command, the air crews are assembling in the briefing rooms to learn the target for today. This is the briefing room of the 303rd Group. Here in a few minutes, the nature, locale, and route of today's mission will be made known to the men who fly it.
Target for today is Ankman. Specifically, you are to destroy the Arado factory. This plant manufactures aircraft components, principally wing and tail assemblies for the Focke-Wulf 190. If it is successfully destroyed, it will have a very serious effect on Germany's aircraft production. This group of buildings here is your target. This building will be the aiming point. If your bomb pattern is concentrated in this area, it should very effectively knock out the factory.
A weather officer briefs the crews of the 305th Group going to Gdynia.
The synoptic situation today is this. We have a high-pressure system centered over northwest Europe, up here near Finland, extending southwestward down across the British Isles, as you come back across the North Sea.
The group's echelon to the right until a point 75 miles from the enemy coast, where a normal combat wing formation will be assumed. For visibility, everybody use Aldous lamp. The Royal Navy will be out patrolling the sea routes, so any crews that have to ditch will probably be rescued very quickly. The Commanding General of Bomber Command asked us to put out a special effort today, so let's give it to him.
Men, the going's going to be rough. You're going to have to bow your necks in there and stay in there and pitch every minute.
Could be rough. I don't think it'll be too bad. And whether it's easy or rough, I'll be sitting out in front, taking the whole works in.
The main briefing over, the pilots, navigators, bombardiers, radio operators, gunners receive separate specialized briefings. These briefings are very technical and very thorough, and are held so that every member of the combat crew will understand exactly what he can expect and what is expected of him. Any lack of thoroughness here might very well result in the failure of a mission. As dawn breaks over the English countryside, it finds the ground crews still working grimly in an effort to get every plane in the air that is scheduled to be dispatched. These men take as fierce a pride in their planes as do the air crews. To each of them, it is a personal tragedy, reflecting in some way on their capabilities when their airplane is forced to turn back without having completed its mission, or when they have been unable to get an expected plane ready in time for a mission. It's getting on to the time when the combat crews go to their planes. Here they are in the crew room, putting on their flying clothes. clothes and equipment especially constructed to ward off the intense sub-zero cold which they will encounter so shortly. All aircrew members receive escape kits containing equipment that will help them get back to safety if they are forced down in Germany or in occupied territory. The pilots, co-pilots, navigators and bombardiers are also issued battle folders containing the maps which will be of such vital importance to them in the prosecution of the mission. The men turn in all personal papers and valuables which might serve to give the enemy information in case of capture. Some of the crew members turn to their chaplain, whose ministrations are always available to the men of the bomber bases. So changeable is the weather in the European theater that sometimes widely varying conditions will be found on fields only a few miles from each other. And now the last briefing of all, the final intimate conference around each airplane as the pilots recheck the details of the mission with their crews. Crew members have ceased to exist as individuals. They are now 10-man teams, and on the excellence of their teamwork will depend the success of the operation. kilometers of 20-yard fields of the 8th Air Force, more than 400 forts and liberators, with their 4,000 crew members, taxi for the takeoff. Plane of each squadron, upon becoming airborne, proceeds for about 90 seconds. It banks sharply to indicate its turning point, then goes into a slow left turn. Each successive plane in the element turns as soon as the pilot sees the plane in front of him turn. The element of 3 planes levels off at 1,000 feet and returns parallel to the takeoff runway at a distance of about 2 miles. Here the elements start to assemble into squadrons of 6. Continuing to circle the field, the squadrons then go to 2,000 feet, where the group assembly takes place. This accomplished, the group now moves on to the combat wing assembly point. Here is how the group stacks up from the side. Here is the group as an enemy fighter pilot sees it, from head on. Experience has shown that this arrangement of the group brings to bear on attacking fighters the greatest possible amount of firepower by utilizing to fullest advantage the field of fire of each gun in the formation. Again, it is proved to be the most maneuverable formation from which to execute the primary and all-important purpose of the mission, the dropping of the bomb loads on a precise target. Obviously, it would be desirable to stack as many bombing planes as possible in one defensive formation. However, it has been found that the largest practical defensive formation is the combat wing of 3 groups. The combat wing having been assembled, they now move on to make rendezvous with the rest of the task force. In this case, another combat wing. from the force which is to attack Anklam is now approaching the Danish coast, and the formation is subject to enemy attack at any moment. It is now 10:30 hours, and Denmark has been penetrated to some distance without any great opposition as yet. So far, there has been only some light and inaccurate flak at the coastline.
Some flank guns have opened up on us.
From 10:30 on, the Anklam formation has to contend with constant German fighter attack from all levels and all clock positions. During this time, the gunners aboard the fortresses knock down fighter after fighter. However, the gunnery of the forts, no matter how sensational it may be, is only to ensure the successful performance of the mission. It is not the job or purpose of forts or liberators to seek out action with enemy fighters. They merely defend themselves against enemy fighter attack so that they can destroy their target and bring their crews back safely to their home bases. An anxious moment comes now for the lead navigator and bombardier. The formation is approaching the initial point. That is, the point where the wing will turn off and make its bombing run on the target. Upon proper navigation to this point may rest the success of the entire mission.
Pilot to left waist gunner. We're over the IP. Release fires. Waist gunner to pilot. Roger.
The most critical defensive period in the mission has begun. The wing, to accomplish most efficiently its primary purpose, the bombing of the target, has sacrificed its mutual defensive firepower, and the groups are thrown on their own. Now the crucial moment is almost here, the moment around which the entire mission revolves. Bay doors open, the group is committed to its attack. No evasive action may be taken until the bombs are away. And at this time, the formation is most vulnerable to attack, both from flak and enemy fighters. An hour later, the second task force comes over the target.
Bombs away.
The third task force comes over its target at Danzig. And fifth task forces arrive over the harbor area of Gdynia.
Bombs away.
It is standard procedure for the group leader to inform Bomber Command the moment the target has been attacked. Bomber Command, in turn, promptly informs the commanding general of the 8th Air Force.
Later, I have the additional information. I reported to you that Anklam was attacked. All primaries were attacked. We received strike messages on all primaries. Danzig at 1307, Marienburg at 1305, and Gdynia at 1311.
Yes?
Yes, sir. I'll advise you as soon as they land.
After getting bombs away and closing the bomb bay doors, the groups can now defend themselves again, at least to the extent of evasive action against the flak and fighter attack. The lead group flies a straight course for 15 seconds before turning off to the rally point. The lead group then proceeds to the rally point at an indicated airspeed of 155 miles per hour, making S-turns meanwhile to permit the trailing groups to catch up. Succeeding groups will close with the lead group as quickly as possible to regain the defensive combat wing formation. Meanwhile, the marauders take off to fulfill their part in the day's operation. They bomb the aerodrome at Woensdrecht, one of the most important of the enemy's fighter bases. This blow by the medium bombers is timed so as to provide the maximum interference with the enemy's capacity to intercept our withdrawing heavy bombers. Last off are the fighters. Their great speed will enable them to reach the Leeuwarden district in a short time, sweep the area clear of enemy fighters, then give the heavy bombers withdrawal support from the enemy coast home. Of all times, the estimated time of return. Everyone who stays behind sweats out this period at the end of each mission. Here at the control tower, at the dispersal areas, at the Red Cross, at the Officers' Club, everywhere on the field, the one thing paramount in everyone's mind is that the group is due back. Went out to attack the target. How many have returned? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 15, 6, 17, 18. 18 dispatched, 18 returned. 23 dispatched, 23 returned. However, there are other groups which weren't so fortunate. 18 dispatched, 17 returned. 20 dispatched, 19 returned. 20 dispatched, 14 returned. 19 dispatched, 18 returned. 20 dispatched, 10 returned. 18 dispatched, 8 returned. Flares dropped from aircraft signal the presence of wounded aboard. These airplanes are given priority in landing. The airmen are home, but their job isn't over yet. Before they can go to their billets for a well-earned rest, they must first undergo one of the most important phases of any mission, interrogation. It is highly important to question the crews at the first possible moment after the mission, while their impressions and memories are still fresh. Crews who have anything of immediate importance to report go at once to the hot newsroom.
Hello, boys. How are they?
Well, kind of long, not too rough.
Best bombing job we've ever done. Good, good. Somebody in trouble?
Yeah, we saw one B-17 go down there just before we made landfall.
Where was that?
Well, that was at 5240 north.
5240, yes.
1 degree, 50 minutes east.
0150 east. Yes, and what time was it?
That was at 1524.
And was that a G-fix?
That was a G-fix, yes. And we had the radio operator get on the MFDF section. He sent in the coordinates of the fix.
Good.
And I had my radio operator turn his IFF to emergency when we saw it go down.
Okay. And what happened?
Well, the ship went down, apparently under control, and saw it hit the water.
Yes, I was looking through the glasses, and I saw 2 dinghies come out, and 10 men, apparently all okay, Major. Good. And what altitude were you?
We were at 5,000 feet at the time.
Okay, anything else? No, settle up for a cup of coffee. It's waiting for you, boy. Okay. Thank you. 3rd Division, please.
Radar Smitty, I got a B-17 crew down the dinghy.
Thanks, Bill. 16 group, please. Special aircraft priority. Flight control, please. 16, Battle Division here. We have a B-17 reported fixed at 52 degrees, 30 minutes north, 1 degree, 30 minutes east. That's right. He was seen to ditch, yes. He was seen to ditch at 15:24 hours by the reporting aircraft. 2 dinghies were seen to break out, and 10 men got into them. The reporting aircraft is at 5,000 feet. Yes, that position's an MF fix. Okay, 16. Thank you.
In one way or another, scores of our crews are saved by air-sea rescue from the English Channel and the North Sea and returned to combat service. Aside from human values, a trained fortress crew is even more valuable than the plane they man, and the work of the air-sea rescue unit has been of enormous value to the 8th Air Force. As soon as interrogation of the men is finished, the interrogation forms are checked and general statistics on the group's part in the attack are compiled. Obtained from the crews is evaluated in divisional critiques, conferences in which all responsible group and divisional officers carefully inspect the detailed record of the mission, discuss any failures that may have occurred, and plan to prevent their recurrence. After a particularly large or important operation, there will be a command critique, with the 8th Air Force Commanding General presiding. Here in the dark room, the strike photos of the targets brought back by the returning planes of the group are developed and printed with all possible speed, so that experts of Bomber Command can assess the damage done. Coming in from planes of every group participating in the various raids and interpreted and appraised by trained photo interpreters, these pictures will give Bomber Command an excellent idea as to exactly what parts of the various targets were hit and how severely. Here, as seen in these pictures taken the following day by photo reconnaissance planes, severe damage has been inflicted on all the major and most of the minor buildings of the Arado factory at Anklam. This is a strike photo showing how Danzig looked during the attack. Very extensive damage has been suffered in the harbor area. Here is an annotated PRU picture of Gdynia as it appeared after the attack. A near miss is seen on the liner Deutschland type. The transatlantic liner Stuttgart does not appear in this picture, although she was seen afire and in the hands of tugboats immediately after the attack as these strike photos reveal. Aside from the Stuttgart, several ships in the South Basin have been sunk or damaged, including the liner Oceania. Shore installations are also heavily hit. At Marienburg, the PRU photo discloses that the damage was exceptionally severe, almost every building having been destroyed or seriously affected. General Arnold has characterized this attack as the greatest example of precision bombing on record. Other targets will be as thoroughly destroyed. Today, while the invasion armies are pressing the Battle of Europe, the Battle of Germany continues. Day by day, whenever weather permits, heavy bombers roar out over the heads of the advancing ground forces, blasting away systematically at vital industrial installations hundreds of miles to the rear of the enemy lines. Now, in contrast to earlier days of strategic bombing, when forts and liberators fought their way alone, fleets of long-range fighters, Mustangs, Thunderbolts, Lightnings, convoy the big bombers all the way to their targets, targets which may be anywhere in German-occupied Europe. The flood of supplies, so necessary to the survival of an army or a nation, synthetic rubber, steel, food, fuel, textiles, this flood is gradually being reduced to a trickle. And finally, even this thin, inadequate stream will die away. Then the German armies in the field and the German workers on the home front will have no food for their stomachs, no clothing for their bodies, no metals for their machines, and no fuel with which to run them. Then the Battle of Germany will be won, and with it, the Battle of Europe.